Hello YouTube, we're on the Real Programming channel. I'm its host, my name is Andrei. I greet you, welcome on my channel. This is our 7th lesson. It's about HTML and JavaScript, and we'll talk about getting expressive. And let's go talk about this, and there are no dumb questions. What if I've used a reserved word as a part of my variable name? Like, can I have a variable named if only that is a variable that contains the reserved word if? You sure can, just don't match the reserved word exactly. It's also good to write clear code, so you wouldn't in general want to use something like else, which might be confused with else. Is JavaScript case sensitive? In other words, are my variable and my variable is big register is the same thing? If you use to HTML markup, you may be used to case-insensitive languages. After all, head and head with big register are treated the same by the browsers. With JavaScript, however, case matters and my variable with big register. Okay, this like this, my variable with big register. My variable are two different variables. This and this. Okay, it's a different variables. Okay, I get that the JavaScript can assign a value at any time, number, string, and so on to a variable. But what happens when I add two variables together and one is a number and the other is a string of characters? JavaScript tries to be smart about converting types for you as needed. For instance, if you add a string and number, it usually tries to convert the number to a string and concatenate the two together. Now, in some cases that is great, and in some cases it isn't what you wanted. Hang on to that thought and we'll come back to it in just a sec. We will get to better naming. You got a lot of flexibility in choosing your variable names, so we wanted to give you a few types to make your naming easier. Choose names that mean something. Variables names like M, not this, like M, okay, RR and foo might mean something to you, but they are generally frowned upon in Webville. Not only are you likely to forget them over time, your code will be much more readable with names like Angel, Current, Pressure, and Pest. Use a camel case when creating multi-word variable names. At some point you're going to have to decide how you name a variable that represents, say, a two-headed dragon with fire. How? Just use camel case, in which you capitalize the first letter of each word other than the first two-headed dragon with fire. Okay, like this. Two-headed dragon with fire. Okay, camel case is easy to form, widely spoken in Webville, and gives you enough flexibility to create a specific variable name as you need. There are other schemes too, but this is one of the more commonly used, even beyond JavaScript. Use variables that begin with underscore or $. Only with very good reason. Variables that begin with $$ are usually reserved for JavaScript libraries, and while some authors use variables beginning with underscore for various conventions, they aren't widely used. We recommend that you to stay away from both unless you have a very good reason. You'll know if you do. Be safe in your variable naming. We'll cover a few more types for stay and save later in the book, but for now be clear in your naming, avoid reserved words and always use var when declaring a variable. Getting expressive. We already seen some JavaScript statements that look like this. But let's take a closer look at the expressions like they are one of the statement. It turns out expressions are everywhere in JavaScript, so it's important to know the kinds of things you can express. Here are a few. You can write expressions that result in numbers. You can write expressions that result in Boolean values, true, truth, or false. That are obviously Boolean expressions. And you can write expressions that result in string. There are other types of expressions too. We'll be getting to this later. Keep an eye on expressions over the next few pages, not to mention the rest of the book, and you're going to see how they are used to compute things, do things multiple times, and to make decisions in your code. Exercise. Express yourself. And you've seen the different types of expressions you can use in JavaScript. Now it's time to put that knowledge to work by evaluating some expressions yourself. Check your answer at the end of this chapter in the next lessons. Hint means not. This is hints means not. And hint mass p gives you the value of p, 3.14. Not this kind of expression. And the next exercise, based on what you know so far about JavaScript values, expressions and statements, see if you can figure out which of these are legal and which might cause an error. From the following list, circle the statements that are legal. Everything seems to work well. I find add number to numbers or string of strings, but what if I add a number to a string or an integer to a floating point number? Remember when we said JavaScript makes programming easy to get into? One of the way it does that is by taking care of converting types to other types as needed to make expressions make sense. As an example, say you have the expression message is equal to plus if by C. Now we know that plus could for adding numbers together, and it's also the operator used to concatenate strings together. So which is it? Well, JavaScript knows that the strings if by C is never going to look like a number. So it decides that its string expression converts the 2 to a string 2 with this. And the variable message is assigned to 2 if by C, like this. Okay, or if you have a statement, JavaScript converts the integer 2 into a floating point numbers, and the result is a 6.2. As you might guess, however, JavaScript doesn't always do what you want, and in some cases it needs a little help, and the conversions will be coming back to that topic a little later. Brain power. What does JavaScript evaluate the following statements to? And why? So, pointing things over and over. If we did everything just once in JavaScript program, it would probably be a pretty boring program. You do a lot of things multiple times. You rinse, lather, repeat until hair is clean, or keep driving until you reach your destination, or keep scooping your ice cream until it's all gone. And to handle these situations, JavaScript gives you a few ways to loop over blocks of code. You can use JavaScript while loop to do something until a condition is met. We got a tub of ice cream and it's got then the scoops left in it. Here is a variable, declare it and initialize it to 10. Well, I use the Boolean expression that evaluates to true or false. Okay, true or false. If true, the code after is executed. While there are more than the 0 scoops, and left we are going to keep doing anything in the code block. Each time toward the while loop, we alert the user there is more ice cream, and then we take no scoop and no scoop away by subtracting one from the number of scoops. When the condition scoops more than 0 is false, the loop is done and the code execution continues here with whatever the next line of your program is. Okay, so if you think about this while loop where initializing some values, say the number of ice cream scoops left, which is while loop test and true, we execute a block of code. And the block of the code does some work that at some point updates the value involved in the conditional test so that the conditional fails in the loop ends initialized var scoops is 10. Do conditional test, execute code block while conditional test is true, update, continue after loop, conditionals false, JavaScript also provides a for loop, which formalizes the structure a little more. Here is our ice cream code written, which are for loop in state, initialize, do conditional, and the test. Update, execute code block while conditional test is true, continue after loop conditionals false. So there are no dumb questions, and make decisions with JavaScript. We will talk about this in the next lesson, and this is our lesson 7 about HTML JavaScript. Finish it. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel, please put like, share with friends, comment, eat bananas, eat fruit, read more books, drink more water. That's all. Thank you, bye.